The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang.
A few moments later.
A federal judge has ordered the return to the U.S. of a Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. The federal government had previously admitted it mistakenly deported him to his home country.
And we are back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, people. You know it helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these important stories. Now, as you can see on your screen, y'all, and as we covered in a previous video, there has been at least one person who was deported to El Salvador who has caused intense controversy, as on one side, the Trump administration says that this guy was a dangerous gang member. And on the other side, they are saying that, no, he was just a nice father of three and he should not have been deported at all. And in fact, he had an order from a judge from several years ago not to deport him to El Salvador. So this is causing a showdown now between the Trump administration and the judge, as the Trump administration is saying they are not going to bring him back. And the judge is saying, look, you have a few days to get this guy back on U.S. soil or else. So this is a very tense situation. We're going to get right into it and give you all the details. Before we get into it, y'all, let me remind you, we are a paralegal school. We've been around for 20 years helping people work and move up in the paralegal field. Right now, we have a 50% off of our tuition. So if you're looking to get your paralegal certificate, if you're looking to work in the paralegal field, go down to click the link in the description until April 7th. So just a few more days, you can get half off of tuition. So first, let's take a look at Trump's spokesperson talking about this deportee and the fact that the Trump administration considers him a hardened criminal and will not be bringing him back.
The administration has expressed a complete confidence in how all the deportation flights to El Salvador were conducted. But now that the administration has conceded that there was an error of one Salvadoran national, will there be any reviews conducted? And does the president express any thoughts on the one error that was disclosed in court last night?
Well, first of all, the error that you are referring to was a clerical error. It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang. That is fact number one. Fact number two, we also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking. And fact number three, this individual was a member, actually a leader of the brutal MS-13 gang, which this president has designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Fact number four is that foreign terrorists do not have legal protections in the United States of America anymore. And it is within the president's executive authority and power to deport these heinous individuals from American communities. It is a promise he campaigned on. It is a promise he is keeping. And every single person in this room should be grateful for that, considering especially MS-13 is very prevalent and prominent here in the District of Columbia, in Maryland, and in Virginia. And the president, the attorney general, everyone who has been involved in these operations is focused on eradicating these criminals and terrorists from our communities.
The vice president said he was a convicted member of MS-13. What evidence is there to back that up?
There's a lot of evidence, and the Department of Homeland Security and ICE have that evidence, and I saw it this morning.
A few questions about this deportation case. First, I wanted to clarify something that you said to Jeff a few minutes ago. You said you'd seen evidence that this man was a convicted gang member. In what court was he convicted, and for what?
This individual was an MS-13 ringleader. This individual was also engaged in human trafficking. And I'm glad you brought up this point again, because I would like to point out that if you just saw the headline from the insane, failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth. They didn't even mention in the title of that article, or even in the first paragraph, that this individual is an illegal criminal who broke our nation's immigration laws. He is a leader in the brutal MS-13 gang, and he is involved in human trafficking, and now MS-13 is a designated foreign terrorist organization. Foreign terrorists have no legal protections in the United States of America, and this administration is going to continue to deport foreign terrorists and illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
But a judge ordered that he should remain in this country. So are you saying that it is okay to ignore a judge's ruling if you don't like it?
Who does that judge work for?
He's an immigration
It was an
judge.
immigration judge who works for the Department of Justice at the direction of the Attorney General of the United States, whose name is Pam Bondi, who has committed to eradicating MS-13 from our nation's interior.
And now, as we said earlier, and as you saw in the clip from the beginning of this video, a federal judge has disagreed with the Trump administration. The judge has said you must bring him back within 3 days. I think there are some unspecified consequences if they don't bring him back. So the situation has kind of, let's say that it went from 0 to 100 really quickly. Let's take a look.
A federal judge has ordered the return to the U.S. of a Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. The federal government had previously admitted it mistakenly deported him to his home country. Kilmar Abrego Garcia lived in Beltsville, Maryland with his wife, Jennifer, and their 5-year-old son. The government says he is in the MS-13 gang, and he has fervently denied that claim. Abrego Garcia was removable from the country. He was eligible for deportation, but he had a court order stating that he could not be deported to El Salvador because he had demonstrated a credible fear that he would be killed. His wife speaking to reporters.
Kilmar, if you can hear me, I miss you so much. And I'm doing the best to fight for you and our children.
And this is a live look right now outside that federal courthouse in Greenbelt, Maryland, where that ruling just came down. And you can see there are protesters there with smiles on their faces as we have heard that. Do we want to listen in here? Okay, in the meantime, we actually have the director at Robert A. Levy Center for Constitutional Studies, Thomas Berry, joining us now. Thomas, good to see you. Obviously, that is breaking news here. What happened? What do we know?
Well, this is a big development in the case. The government had argued that it was impossible to have a court order to bring this person back to the country because the government of the United States argued that he's in the custody of El Salvador. They have no power to bring him back. The person who was removed, his attorneys said that we should at least ask nicely, and also we're paying for him to be held there. We're giving money to the government of El Salvador. So at the very least, we can get a court order asking our government to ask their government to bring him back and to stop sending money for his detention. So clearly the judge thought those arguments were strong and persuasive, and now we're going to see whether the U.S. government complies with this court order.
How does this work? How does a federal judge in the United States of America tell El Salvador you must return this person back to America when they're not even a U.S. citizen?
It seems like it has to be, U.S. court orders have to operate against the U.S. government, so it has to be a chain reaction type of thing. We ask the U.S. federal government to use its diplomatic powers, but clearly this is a close collaboration between the U.S. and El Salvador. This was an agreement that these people being deported would be held at this particular prison, and the U.S. would help pay for their being detained there. So clearly this U.S. judge thought that effectively we have the power to get him back by using our diplomatic power, our powers of persuasion, and maybe the power of the purse, withholding this money.
And we know that the Trump administration has close ties with Nayib Bukele, the president there of El Salvador. The critics will say, why are we bringing back someone who is under an illegal status here at the United States, who the government alleges has ties to a highly criminal gang known as MS-13? Why is this happening? Is it because of how it went down, more so because of the error that happened that led to him being sent back to El Salvador?
Yeah, it's because there's a clear error that even the U.S. government admitted. Even if someone is generally deportable, if there's a withholding order that says you can't be deported to a particular country because it's particularly dangerous, courts have to comply with that, and the federal government has to comply with that. And I think this just shows the danger of wrongful deportations when the federal government moves too fast and lumps everyone into one category without checking whether these prior adjudications exist blacklisted. And that seems to be what happened here.
And we're seeing video there of Abrego's wife there in court in Beltsville after this was just ordered by the judge. Thomas, before we go, is there the possibility or a probability that this man is brought back to the United States, he goes back before a judge, and now there is a legal deportation order that sends him back?
There could be a legal deportation order to a different country other than El Salvador. To send him back to El Salvador, the government would have to appeal that withholding order, which seems unlikely. So it seems like the easier path would be to attempt to deport him somewhere else, but that would also be subject to challenge and likely have to go before an immigration judge.
And for people who are unclear on what that means, the withholding, he was reporting to a judge under the guise that the government was alleging that he had these ties. Since 2019, he's been reporting to the judge. He has no criminal record, even though the government maintains that he has those ties to MS-13. What exactly does this withholding mean, and why does that come about for people who are believed to be engaged in criminal activity?
Effectively, it balances that concern that he's engaged with criminal activity with the threat that he would be illegally tortured or subject to some other kind of persecution in a particular country. So he is Salvadoran, he grew up there, and he claimed that his family was at risk of persecution by gangs in his native country. So that particular country would be unacceptably dangerous for him to be deported to. So this withholding order essentially said you can deport him to other countries, but not El Salvador. It's just too dangerous. But clearly the government didn't comply with that here.
Thomas, thank you so much. We'll see how quickly the U.S. government acts, and of course the response there from El Salvador.
Thank you for having me.
So as I'm looking at the different opinions online, of course, anybody who's against Trump is going to point this out as a huge mistake, saying that the administration is moving too quickly, that they're being reckless, that they need to bring this person back as quickly as possible, that they need to slow down on the deportations, etc. Now, on the other side, people are saying, look, we don't care that this man was deported. He shouldn't have entered the country without permission anyway. So anybody who's in the country without permission can be deported at any time. And what people need to do is go back home. They need to get permission if they're going to come to the country and come in the country legally. So there's a very strong contingent of people saying just that. So I want to know, on what side do you fall? Or do you have a whole different opinion? Let us know down in the comments. But of course, before you do, please stop, hit the share button, share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Just share it out through all the social mediums, y'all. You know, we appreciate it, and it helps the channel grow, you know? And of course, we want to thank you for watching. If you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. Thanks. Love y'all. Don't forget to comment. We'll see you back in the next one.